Hunter x Hunter is finally coming back after a 3.5-year hiatus. It's quickly becoming one of the most anticipated releases of the year, but is it worth reading? Well, it's kind of complicated. Let me explain. The Hunter x Hunter manga picks up right where the anime left off at chapter 341. There are currently two arcs that have not been animated: the Dark Continent Expedition and the Succession War. These two arcs are separated by the Chrollo and Hisoka fight. I want to do a quick overview of each arc without any spoilers. So let's start with the Dark Continent Expedition. This arc is basically just politics. That's it. There is zero action and its main purpose is to set up future arcs. As a result, it's pretty tedious and not that important. The events of this arc do directly impact the next arc, but it goes into much more detail than necessary. The only important information we get out of this arc is about the Dark Continent itself, but that is a small portion of the arc. If you're a fan of Hunter x Hunter, these sort of long-winded explanations shouldn't be new to you, but in this case, it really feels like the entire arc could have been given to the audience in a 10-page second-hand recounting of the events. However, the Chrollo and Hisoka fight is quite the opposite. This fight is one of the most anticipated and foreshadowed fights in Hunter x Hunter, and it definitely delivers. I won't say anything else because I don't want to spoil the fight, but the execution and buildup of this fight is immaculate, and the results have a direct impact on the following arc. This brings us to the arc that takes up the majority of the manga, the Succession War. I have a love-hate relationship with this arc. It has some of my favorite moments and some of my least favorite moments. The arc is made up of close to 20 perspectives and includes dozens more characters. Basically, there's a lot going on. This can be a good thing and a bad thing. It's great because you really get a good look at how everything is coming together. No detail is spared in the war, and events surrounding the war are still being set up even 40 chapters in. You could think of this arc as Yorknu on steroids. A lot of the faces from that arc are prominent in the Succession War. Kurapika is the main lead, with Melody and Basho making appearances as well. The Phantom Troop is also there and has its own side plot going on, and Hanzo and Bisky are involved as well. A ton of side protagonists that we've been introduced to are also present in this arc. There are obviously also a lot of new characters, and most of them are interesting and unique. All of the important ones have an individual personality, and there's someone that everyone will like. There are stoic characters, righteous characters, evil characters, straight up crazy characters, and of course horny characters. Obviously not every new character is created equally, but the important ones are very fleshed out and multidimensional. However, two characters that are not involved are Ging and Killua, who are nowhere to be found. So if you were hoping to see more of this duo, sorry, that's probably not going to happen. This arc is particularly interesting because the entire arc takes place in one enclosed space. None of this arc occurs outside of this space, and as a result, it feels like everybody could just bump into each other at any moment. This large amount of characters and limited setting creates a ton of unique and developed storylines that are all occurring simultaneously. There are quite a few chapters where you get an overview of up to 16 different perspectives, and some chapters where you only spend time on 3 or 4 perspectives, but major developments happen at the same time. While a lot of these events take quite some time to develop, almost all of them are suspenseful, high-stakes events filled with conflict. However, as I just stated, it does take quite a long time to develop due to the amount of perspectives there are to keep track of. This has some pros and cons. It's good because the pace of the story is always progressing, and if you're not interested in a particular arc, you don't have to spend much time on it unless it's climaxing. But it's also bad because it makes the story very complicated. Constantly switching perspectives makes it hard to keep track of everything that's going on, especially when characters that are previously unimportant start to get more screen time, or an entire new set of characters are introduced out of the blue. The brain only has so much space for new information, and this arc really pushes that space to the max. This brings me to the biggest issue of the Succession War. It's an information overload. New characters, new nanabilities, new types of nanabilities, new government structures and laws. There's so much new information, and everything has to be explained. If you are one of the people that did not like the narration of the Chimera Ant arc or wanted things to move faster during that arc, you probably will not be a huge fan of the Succession War. This arc has a large amount of exposition, like a huge amount. It makes sense because there are so many new ideas being introduced in the arc, but that doesn't mean it's not annoying. While some of this exposition is entertaining and engaging, some of it feels unnecessary. Much like the aforementioned Dark Continent Expedition arc, this arc has a lot of politics and a lot of monologuing, internal and external. This can be a major drawback for some people who are expecting more action or want a fast-paced story. While the pace of the story has been picking up in the last 15 chapters or so, it's still not moving that fast because of how many perspectives there are to cover. To give you an example of the pacing at the beginning of the arc, it takes 10 chapters to get through the first day of the Succession War. An entire manga volume is 1 day. Granted, the next 2 weeks are covered in the next 30 chapters, so the pace does pick up a little bit. I think the main aspect of the manga that will push people away is the abundance of exposition. At times, it feels like the manga is more of a light novel than a manga. This is the biggest aspect that fans of Hunter x Hunter have been critical of. If you're looking for a manga with huge splash pages of epic fight scenes, this arc is probably not for you. This brings me to my next cautionary note: there is very little combat in the Succession War. Don't get me wrong, there's still plenty of suspense, conflict, and death, but exciting fights like Kurapika and Uvojin, or Hisoka and anyone, don't really happen in this arc. Even more minor battles like Killua and Gon versus Edward Scissorhands are exciting compared to the battles in this arc. There have literally been less than 20 panels in this arc that are actual fight scenes. As I mentioned, there's still plenty of conflict and plenty of tension in this manga, so if you enjoy being kept on the edge of your seat and on your toes, you will most likely enjoy the Succession War, because that seems like the main way Togashi aims to create tension in this arc. But if you're thinking about reading for sick and flashy battles, you might as well stop after the Chrollo and Hisoka fight. The next major drawback of reading Hunter x Hunter's manga is the production cycle. The manga is currently coming off of a 3.5-year hiatus, but even before that we got on average 10 to 12 chapters a year for the previous 5 years. This is of course a result of Togashi's debilitating back pain, and as such there's not much that can be done about the show's production. I'm not trying to blame Togashi for having slow production on Hunter x Hunter, and I think he should take it at a pace that he is comfortable with, and a pace that is good for his own health. But I do think it's important to mention the infrequency of new chapters when you are determining if you want to read the Hunter x Hunter manga. So do I think the Hunter x Hunter manga, and specifically the Succession War, are worth reading? Well, that really depends on what you look for in anime and manga. If you are looking for fast-paced, exciting fights like Demon Slayer or Jujutsu Kaisen, this is probably not the manga for you. But if you're looking for intricate and developed stories with three-dimensional characters like Attack on Titan or Fullmetal Alchemist, I would say give it a read. Personally, I've been really enjoying the Succession War. A lot of the new and old characters are very interesting, and I think the climax of this arc could even surpass the Chimera Ant arc. So if you're looking for my personal opinion influenced by my personal tastes, I would say yes, it is worth the read. But I am also biased because Hunter x Hunter is my favorite anime. Anyway, that's the video. Thank you for watching. Today is actually my 1-year anniversary of making anime content on YouTube. This time last year I had 33 subscribers, and now we have over 2,000. So I just wanted to thank everyone that has subscribed up to this point, and ask that anyone who hasn't considers doing so. It would really mean a lot to me, and I would appreciate the support. Thank you again for watching, and thank you for the support, and I promise to keep bringing you good content in the next year. I'll see you next time. Also, maybe check out the Patreon or join our Discord or something. Okay, bye for real.